You are listening to Radiant Creators, a collaborative project composed of people whose passion, purpose, and dedication requires forging their own unique path of empowerment and livelihood. A Radiant Creator isn't making a living, they are living.
This is like Radiant Creators Supplemental Weekly Interview with Kate, the Radical Gardner. And, we've been talking about a lot of stuff the last week or so. A lot's going on. And, I figured everybody was missing out, so we would just, share it. Just hit the record button. So how are you doing this morning? You've had a morning of gardening and
Oh
such.
my gosh, yeah. Actually, I have been out. I'm in Southeast Michigan, so I've been out trying to beat the heat from 8 o'clock, and I just came in at 12:30, and my hair's wet because we have a inflatable hot tub, so I took a dive in that after being in the garden. But I try and be in my garden every single morning because it's upkeep. And I have found that if you stay with it daily, it never is overwhelming, ever. And so I needed to do I grow containers. For people that don't know what I do, is I basically grow in containers and raised beds. And when you grow like that, you have to stay really up on, keeping the containers filled with soil, always, bumping up the soil. And I do that with worm castings and fresh soil. And then, I go through, I weed everything, I keep everything, and because I have a cement driveway, I have to sweep and clean, or it just looks really tacky. It's not like I'm on dirt, So, it's always upkeep, and I like it to look pretty. It's just my nature. And so it really is a beautiful little garden. So today was working on tomatoes, and for some reason I planted something like 35 tomato plants. And so I get carried away ordering seeds. I'm actually not going to order seeds next year. I have so many seeds. But, and it's been a hard year for tomatoes because it started out cool. And so I've been babying them. And I started them late. I kept waiting for warmer weather. So, they're looking great. Tomatoes are showing up now. So it's great. And, all the babying and trimming the bottom leaves off and supplementing the soil and that. It's, for me, it's heaven. It's absolute heaven. I could do it all day long.
Yeah, container gardening is something that we have to do in our location because we don't really have land. We have, cement around us. The ideal would be to have a little ranch eventually, but right now it's all containers. But yeah, here in Arizona, I think it's probably over 100 by this point. So a lot of our gardening is either microgreens inside, which, you can grow quite a lot of microgreens. It might be the easiest thing there is to grow, really. So you can have, shelves of microgreens going, and that works pretty well. And then also hydroponics, getting into hydroponics. And, it's, once you get it going, it's kind of fun. It's kind of like having a fish tank. You got your little fizzy bubbles, and you got your pump. And, we have one tower that I'm building that will be kind of cool. It's like a tree, which is made of herbs as it starts growing. So it's fun. But yeah, every day, weeding is it's that 15 minutes a day. If you do it every day and go out there and weed, then it's fine. But oh my gosh, if you miss a week, then it's life is over.
Well, the thing is that you're also establishing and maintaining a relationship with your plants, which are living, breathing things that have souls. And so when you always have your hands on them and you're always connecting with them and you're looking at what they're producing and you're thanking them for the food that they're producing. And, so that's a really real key for me, is to keep that relationship going. And it's very active. It's not, for me, it's not about throwing seeds in the ground, and again, I do like it to look pretty, so I fuss over them, and I'm staking them and so that is really, really, really important that I have a relationship with my plants. So
Well, plants like attention, so they are. I mean, they do, and they respond to it. And in our house, the plants are all kind of pets. They're just little plant beings, so they're all little pets. They really are. Well, there's a documentary. It reminds me of. There's a new documentary out, and it's getting like a lot of people are noticing it, and it's called like Earthing Movie. It's called like the Earthing documentary, and it's just earthingmovie.com. It's actually this documentary about being barefoot on the earth and how and all the positive effects that has. But as neat as that is, I'm like, great, this documentary exists. People will take their shoes off and go outside. It's really weird that it needs to exist. Like, I look at it and go, this is cool, but at the same time, is this news? You know what I mean? Are people really that disconnected from their from nature, from the earth, etc., that they actually have to learn this new skill of being barefoot on the planet?
Yeah, I know. Well, it's I don't know. We're telling. It seems like we're telling people how to do a lot of real basic things. So I don't know. I don't know where the disconnect came. We're transitioning. We moved into a technological age, and it's not like we're a bunch of idiots and we moved into a technological age. That's what we did. But we have to, life is always about balance. I'm all for a cell phone, but I put it down and don't use it for half the day. I'd rather be in the garden and connecting with something else. But I'm all for technology. Believe me, I run 3 businesses that rely on technology, so I'm all about it. But you can't forget about what we really are and where we really came from, and what we're really related to. And we're related to the earth. That's our earth mother. So it's really important that we keep that up front and center, in my opinion.
Yeah. And you mentioned that people that are in touch with the earth right now are starting to eat less.
Yeah, that I've really noticed. Well, I've noticed a bunch of things, and I don't know, because you and I gab so much. I love you and Aaron. Just such great people. But yeah. So what I noticed, I mean, I'm a chubby girl. I like food. I've liked it all my life, and but I mean, about 6 months ago, I just didn't feel like eating anymore. And I'm really healthy. I take C60 and, magnesium, malate, and, iodine. And, I'm really healthy. So it isn't lost appetite for anything that was going on in my gut or what have you. And my husband too. And we're very connected to the earth. And I said to my husband, I just suspect that for those of us that are paying attention or feeling connected, we're really getting a signal that it's time for all of us to eat less and to eat differently. And I'm a very big, you and I were talking about this, I'm a big time meat eater. I'm a type O, blood type O. We thrive on meat. I'm from an Eastern European diet. I do really well on it. Actually, whenever I would go vegetarian or vegan, I get really sick. And I even had chefs cooking. I mean, believe me, I did it right. But it just didn't jive with my system. And but now I don't eat meat very often, maybe once a week. And, my body tells me I need it a little bit and I eat it. So there's something shifting, and the same's for my husband. But for a lot of my friends that are also gardeners or pay attention to the cycles of the earth or the GSM or what have you, they too are feeling that they shouldn't eat so much. They're just not hungry. So I think we're just in sync with what is on the horizon. There will be less food. There already is. We got to stop acting like it's in the future. It's happening right now. So there's less food. And we should be eating less. And really, Joe and I can get along just fine eating 1 meal a day. Just fine. So that's going on. The other revelation was that I, along with about 5 other women that I know, we all had this. I think Erin said that she did too, but we all got this hit. It was about a month ago, of how much and how conditional the Earth Mother loved us. I mean, that's a weird thing for individuals to get a message on or to feel, to the point where it was bringing tears to our eyes. It was humbling. I'm sure Erin said she was feeling the same thing. And that was, whoa. And I realized that revelation, that we're being spoken to really, I mean, in a real direct way, and we have to know that we are, and like pay attention and be open to hearing it. But our Earth Mother never punishes us. I know people love to say the Earth's pissed off. They're so full of shit. I mean, it's the Earth Mother loves us unconditionally. That's what it's about. It's unconditional love. And I felt that. And then what happens is you feel like, oh God, I'm so sorry that we haven't fully respected you. I mean, it was just this, you're going to love us no matter what. That was so humbling, I'm trying to put it into words, you know how that goes. But, so yeah, I mean, I think our Earth Mother she's shifting, we're all in sync together, and we're being spoken to, and we can speak back.
And the eating less is something that you really can't fake. I know that, I always get frustrated when I hear people say that, oh, I like to cleanse, and when I'm cleansing, I always feel good. I feel like so light, and I'm like, well, then you're not doing it right, because I feel like shit, to be honest with you. I'm hungry and grouchy, and I just think about food, It's kind of like people who say that they really feel like the prana flowing when they do like a colon hydrotherapy, and I'm like, I just feel really uncomfortable and weird, and I'm like, oh, it's awful, and I think that's habit forming, and I'm like, for who and why? Oh my God, they'll always come in and say, hey, the next person canceled, do you want another 8 gallons? And I'm like, no, I've had enough butt chugging today. I don't need to achieve nirvana yet, Oh my gosh. So yeah, there are just some things you cannot fake.
Screw nirvana.
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep it mundane here, but yeah, so I love eating too. I mean, I'm the kind of person, just give me 3 large buckets of food, a day, meat and fat in there, and I'm just avocados but no, I kind of in the same way, and I think we sort of self-regulate along with our environment. And there was a time where I was eating lots of meat, red meat, and then there was now not so much. It doesn't, I don't not eat it, but it doesn't come up that much. And so meat tends to be something that maybe bake a chicken once in a while in the oven, and shred it up and have that over a couple days or whatever. But yeah, it's strange. It's like there really is no one way to eat. And I think people who are in touch with their body, the environment, is that right now I see there's so many extremes. There's people who are like, raw food vegan is the way, and you're all evil. You don't, eat that way. Then there's now you've got the this weird exact opposite, which is like the carnivore diet, where people are only eating meat. And they're saying that, vegetables of any kind, that's all starvation food, and you're going to die from oxalates and stuff. And I'm like, well, oxalates are not good for us, but at the same time, there is no, everybody sort of would like something I just noticed recently, last couple of months or even a year, I don't know, is that so many people want to find like the perfect diet, and it never seems to occur to people to think about ancestral nutrition. Think about well, what did your people eat?
That's
and get the UN dream of the 2023 people from everywhere. We're not from everywhere. Recently, you are from somewhere. Stop that, Yeah. And you did evolve a certain, digestion for that area. Like for me, it's mostly Germany and Scandinavia and stuff. So, I mean, I love beer and meat, I can
Well, the Scandinavian, you could bury your fish and be okay.
Oh, I know. I definitely didn't inherit that one. Oh my God,
No, it was the Norwegians actually during the Second World War. They buried their fish so that that's one of the ways they starved out the Germans and how they continued to eat. Yeah, they salted it and buried it. Yeah. So whenever I meet anybody Norwegian, I always ask them, "So do you still bury your fish?" I don't know. It's one of those things that's stuck in my mind.
Oh,
well, that's why I always like eating for your blood type, because that is based on your blood type, which is your ancestral, and I've seen that. I've seen that just be dead on, but even with that, it's about balance. There's no one diet, for blood type A or AB or B or, whatever. There's no one, no diet that says eat all of one thing. It's, like a type A really shouldn't ever eat meat, but they should eat fish, and, when you go, you're missing something. If you're a vegan, I'm sorry, you're lacking vitamin A. You can tell me what you want, but you're lacking vitamin A, and you need that for a healthy heart. So whatever, if that's how you feel, that's how I feel. If that's what you want to eat, that's what you want to eat, but don't put it on me. I've tried every food plan. If I stayed married to type O, which is basically lamb and real standard fruits like pears and apples and stuff like that, and no beans, no greens, that's type O. And I thrive on that, right? And it just so happens it's a lot of food that's poisoned, right? So, I feel really good if I really hold to the type O diet, which I don't.
No, it makes sense. Well, we had somebody on the show once, Arthur Haynes. He's a great character, and he wrote a book called A New Path, and he really gets into the ideal of the ancestral nutrition, as in, what is your DNA, what works for you, but then also the idea of, if nature is perfect, let's say, like nature, planet loves us basically, then wherever you go, what you would, hunt and gather there is really what's perfect to eat in that location, and especially if a person has traveled around the globe a little bit, they realize, different climates have different foods,
That's
and,
right.
like here in the desert, it kind of rains food. There's agave root. There's, prickly pear. There's like the prickly pear, leaves, which are kind of intense. There's mesquite. It rains mesquite, and you go out and you pick that, then you take it to there's these big mesquite grinding parties because it takes a certain kind of crazy machine to actually make that into flour. But now you kind of have this very protein and carbohydrate-rich flour, and of course we have dates that grow here. I mean, really, the more you learn about here, like the saguaro fruits, if you can pull them off and make jelly out of them, or if you leave them, eventually they fall off and they're kind of like a little prune sort of, and you can eat those. And so, it's like nature will feed you. And I know that not everyone can hunt and gather where they live. And some people are only going to gather; they're not going to hunt anything. But it's funny. I love watching some, shows about Aboriginal cultures that still exist. And if you watch what they do, they just wander around every day and collect food, everything from like mushrooms to roots to fish to frogs. I mean, you name it. And then they come back and they just have this feast. And to me, it's like the body seems happiest when it's eating this large array of foods, from its environment. And most of us are not going to be able to do that. I know I certainly don't do that, but I do it to the extent that is possible. And we're always working on doing it more. Only a couple hours of picking can get you enough mesquite flour for a year. Wow. And that stuff is amazing. And so, we're always going to supplement. We're going to do some hunting and gathering at Whole Foods and stuff like that, And then, of course, farming like you're doing, being a radical gardener and then growing it. So anyhow, it seems like I love the idea of ancestral nutrition and then also just intuitive nutrition. What is your body, wanting?
Yeah. And what does it want?
Yeah, and there is no extreme which is going to last very long. I think
That's
that,
right.
like, how many vegans have you known were vegans after 5 years, and now we have like the ketogenic diet, and that's neat, but I can't help but get a little bit ancestral and think, what hunter-gatherer, a natural human in their natural environment would ever be in ketosis? I mean,
Well, that keto diet is not good for a lot of people. And one is that if you have a liver or kidney issues, that is not a good diet to go on. And a lot of people have a polluted liver. Lots, most. So you better know your body before you go traipsing off on one of those. Any diet that eradicates fat, all the fat, you go, whoa, I don't know about that. So you have to, I mean, I tread carefully. Again, it's about balance. It really is about balance. Yeah, I think the whole locavore thing is really, really cool. It would be challenging in Michigan to eat in the wintertime. Hopefully you would like store some of that away. But I mean, yeah, you could walk around if you knew your stuff, your purslane and your nettles and your, and if you knew your dandelions, and if you knew your stuff, you could probably do pretty well. Could just go to a park and walk around. There might be edible mushrooms. Who knows? I mean, I don't trust myself with, like, I have mushrooms growing all over my yard and have no idea if they're poisonous or not, so I don't eat them. So, I just haven't gotten around to learning about mushrooms, which are a great, great, diet. I mean, to be part of anybody's diet, but I don't know them well and take them. The only mushrooms I know you get really high on. So that's not, and they're not growing in my yard, unfortunately. So.
yeah, yeah. Well, no, I mean, being a neo-Aboriginal, as Arthur Haynes kind of coined it, be the new Aboriginal. It's like, if you look at our ancestors, they kind of look like a wild turkey, but then if you look at us, we just kind of look like a domesticated turkey, and you go, oh my God, that's not flattering on any level, But if you begin to get back to your roots of food and then basically gardening and natural forms of exercise, you could kind of get back a little bit to your wild turkey nature. And then if people have kids, then their kids are that much closer. So we can strengthen our bodies, our health. It's all very possible. It just takes I don't know, a little bit of wisdom, keep working at it, make mistakes. I myself have personally probably tried every dumbass extreme diet that exists. If any of them worked, by just force of will, I would be looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger right now, but handsomer. Anyway, so one thing we were talking about was GSM and fear. We're both close to, let's say, the earth, and we try to be, and we try, in touch with the cycles. And then also we both garden. You garden outside right now. We kind of garden, well, outside a little bit, but inside mostly. But we all have relationships to our plants, and the GSM cycles, the grand slow minimum cycles, it looks like we're going into one, so we're going to have issues. But something that you brought up was really getting over the fear-mongering aspect of it, and there can be a way to positively embrace this. And so, like, what were you thinking along those lines? It seems like it's something that's been forming for a bit.
Yeah, it's still forming, but it has something to do with, I mean, it's a belief system that lives in Buddhism and in Taoism. If I'm anything, I'm probably a Taoist, but or a Gnostic. But there's a truth, and there's a truth that sits on top. So what is that truth for the GSM? Well, it sounds scary. I mean, food shortages, flooding, winters that people may not survive. I mean, there's a lot, tornadoes, earthquakes, with the cosmic ray flux, everything is just so activated now. It might not be the right word, but that's how I think of it. it's really accelerated. So so that strikes fear. And in the word apocalypse, and because of social media and YouTube and everything, people tend to, not everybody, but people tend to buy into all of it. And so they believe kind of everything. And I've never been one of those people. I'm very discerning about the information that I take in. But the GSM I know is true. It's cyclic. It's not really anything you can really debate. You just have to look at the cycles and the timelines, and we're pretty much on target for a GSM. But it really triggers fear, right? Well, you better stock up. Well, you better do this. Well, you better do that. Well, you better move somewhere. You better that. And as soon as someone does that, I walk in the opposite direction. Fear. You never make good decisions when you're in fear, ever. You always want to just live in the moment. Right now, everything's just fine. I don't care where you are. Right here, right now. If you're breathing and you have have a roof over your head, some people don't. But the way to rein that in is to pay attention to right here, right now. And from there, making your decisions. But before you do that, or maybe after you do that, and like I said, I'm still forming all this. I want to write about it and talk about it. Is like you have to ask yourself, why is this triggering fear? Why? And what can I learn from this? And that's the secondary truth. That's a truth that's living underneath the, oh my gosh, it's an apocalypse. What's under it is where the rationale is. And that is, what do you learn from being triggered by words like apocalypse? And what you have to do is you have to start peeling away these false fears. And one of them is, I'm going to die. Well, I got news for everybody. You're going to die. Everybody's going to die. Every single person. As a matter of fact, from the moment that you're born, you're dying. You are. And if you believe along the lines that I do, and many people do, but it's from the kind of Steiner school, or the people that come from the vitalism, where everything has a soul. It's life really doesn't start until you die. That's when the real life is going on. This is the third dimensional one. It's rip roaring fun. I love it. But the one that is really going to matter, where we are taking all that information now and we're going to put it into the cosmos, or the Akashic records, or deliver it to the aeons, or who knows what we do, but that's when it really matters. And so it's about shifting our thinking and letting go of that fear. Well, what else? Well, maybe you'll lose your home. Okay, like whenever I go there, I think I have good camping equipment. I'm good. I'll go camp somewhere. I mean, it's like these fears where we've been made to believe that we're supposed to have all these things all of the time. We're supposed to live, I guess, forever. I don't know. We might get cancer. We might. We live in so much fear. It's insane. I don't know how people get through the day. So it's about peeling those fears away, and really using the apocalypse dialogue is a great way of going there. You follow what I'm saying? Is this making sense?
Oh yeah, the apocalypse dialogue. I like it. Well, it's something that Carlos Castaneda said in the Don Juan books. I think kind of 70s spirituality, I guess I'd call it, was that one of our biggest problems is that we act like we're going to live forever. And we're not, and we don't. And so he said that death is like walking 2 feet to your left, and is always right next to you, and can reach over and tap your shoulder at any time. And so ultimately, it doesn't mean live every day like it's your last, because I don't think anybody really knows what they would do, and I'm not sure if anybody would really have a good time. If today's your last day, oh shit. I mean, what would you even do with it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, So, I think a person's last day would probably be very, very mundane, making sure that like their spouse has all their passwords, I mean, it wouldn't really be that eventful. Oh shit, I better, you know what I mean? So that doesn't work. So it's not like live every day like it's your last, but it's that awareness that you're not going to live forever, and this really a certain urgency to your life that is not a stressful urgency, but you just a person has to live a different kind of life in that way. Like, for one thing, I think that you're not here to solve the world's problems. I don't.
No, you're here for the experience.
Yeah, you're here to to witness, to experience. And then, as like Neil Kramer, a great philosopher, says, is my silent presence enough? And so that is enough. You're silently present, and you're experiencing. And then what you're here to do is your interest. What interests you? That's where you find the sweetness and the experience of life, is just pursuing, hey, this moves me. And there's a great channeled entity, whether he's real or not, he's entertaining, Bashar. And he goes, what excites you? Sit and be silent for a moment. If you don't know what you want to do, there's something that excites you. There's something interesting, something. Go do that. And then do the next thing that excites you. So we're here to live our excitement, to enjoy the sweetness of life, to experience life. Our interests are given to us. We have them. And that's the whole of our mission. And so with that, you start taking your bucket list more seriously. I want to do these things. And I'm not going to act like I have forever. I kind of have now. And so really, I think any day that you pursued your interests and you experienced life, like Joseph Campbell, when asked, what's the meaning of life? He's like, to experience it. When you experience life, you'll know what it's for. And so he said
his religion is experience. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so you get into the religion of experience, and you're sitting there, and you look over, and there's death. Oh yeah, I'm alive today. I might not be the next moment. And you just get a certain velocity to your interests in your life. You stop thinking you're going to live forever. And I mean, of course, we can always spiritually abstract things to meaninglessness. I mean, yes, we are going between timelines. Yes, there's only one of us here. All that stuff is true. I'm a very spiritual person, but still, right now I have a huge, consciousness focus in this body. And so that's what I'm doing. Even if I'm recreating it a trillion times a second, and that's the illusion of time, regardless. I think that a meaningful life is a life where you have that religion of experience.
Well, everybody has it. I mean, it's unavoidable, because if you're breathing, you're experiencing. It's just whether you're aware that that's actually what you're doing. I mean, awareness can really, it can give that more pizzazz, but, we have to also be really fair in that not everybody, due to whatever they've been dealt in life, because I believe in destiny, and that people are here for their experience. People were here for their choices. That's to make ego grow. I think that to make spirit grow, you're here for your experience. But people are here, and a lot of them don't get to do anything. Like the person that's taking care of the sick mother, maybe has to take care of them their whole life. There may be a way to do that with joy, but when you're feeling, that's a pretty tough thing to turn around. When maybe you were always dreaming of being an opera singer, but instead you're taking care of a sick mother. And really, I mean, that's admirable, because you're doing something that's really important, and literally sacrificing something you love to do. So, it's just, if you can be in the middle of that experience, and out of that, you can be, there can be some relief. If you can be totally aware of what it is you're doing, because you can bring creativity to it. There's creativity in taking care of someone. There's creativity in doing the dishes. There's creativity in weeding the garden. I mean, anything can be a creative act if you can bring an element of awareness to it. So maybe the most dire thing that you're doing, believe me, I took care of Alzheimer patients when I moved from Seattle to here in 2002. And I mean, that was, that was brutal. And this is what I was telling myself at first. Oh my God, I have Grammy nominations. Look what I'm doing now. I mean, I was just like buried from that, And then I had this little moment of awareness. I thought, you can make this whatever you want to make this, and you can so I would come in, I would have a sense of humor, I would find any way I could to make them laugh. I would I had to turn it around, or it was just like it was the weight of the world. It was too awful, in my mind. But I had the awareness to do that. And you and I've talked about this before. That's a gift. That is a gift. And not everybody has it. Or people get really hung up in love being professional victims. And I'm going to tell you what, that is really hard to break. When somebody's a professional victim, good luck in turning that around.
Yeah, it's a delay on growth. Like basically, I don't think anybody is doing much of anything just ego-wise, nor experience-wise. If they're just doing the whole victim thing, it doesn't really work. It just doesn't. Well, one thing about a GSM coming and some of the fear-mongering around it, or just people who are experiencing it, maybe it's just the way that they present it is very, very dire. And maybe that's good. Maybe they're helping people, wake up. It's kind of like Alex Jones is he was a huge wake up for so many people who eventually went, okay, you're just kind of a nut, but you did wake me up and now I'm on to something better, I think that, like for myself, having had experiences in life where I was, close to death, and then also where I was, thought I was, regardless, however you look at it, a few times in life, I've had some close brushes with, not being alive, and I'm happy and healthy and wise right now, but it's just that I've had some experiences like that, and something about the GSM that I think may, something which is very positive, is when you think you're going to die, like for real, you think this is it. This is really it. I mean, it's over. You'd be amazed how sweet and how much experience there is in anything. Like you would miss, and it would bring tears to your eyes, how sweet washing the dishes is. Like the smell of it, like the smell of a dishwasher when you open it and it's clean. How cool a dryer is, a laundry dryer. I mean, just like the most mundane act of going to a store and buying bottled water, whatever it is, vitamins, the fact that they exist at all, everything. Like when really that's it. Like there's no more time. Death is tapped on the shoulder, or you think death is kind of like playing with you, like I might tap you. It just makes you realize, my gosh, what I wouldn't do this moment to be washing dishes, what I wouldn't do to be like earthing, like walking in the grass, what I wouldn't do just to be home. Oh my gosh, like that.
That is the truth.
Just to be home. Yeah.
Just to be home. Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, to me, just sitting in the garden, it's like, oh, just let me sit in the garden. Whatever I'm doing, I go, can I just go sit in the garden? Yeah. No, I get it. I totally get it. And I've had a couple of pretty gnarly accidents, and I fell through a ceiling and broke my back. Back in my wild days, and all I wanted to do when I was in the hospital is get the hell out. I mean, whatever it took. I just asked them, I said, what does it take to get out of here? And they told me, and I made sure that happened. Just like, get me out of here.
I understand. Yeah, hospitals are, when you first get there, it's neat. You're like, oh, hospital. But then, shit wears off in 15 minutes and you just want to get out. You're like, oh my God, just, I mean, yeah, it's kind of like colon hydrotherapy. Somebody might say, oh, it's so great. I feel so alive. And I'm like, I feel no more alive than when I'm in a friggin' hospital. I'll tell you what. I'm like, if that's life, woo, have at it. Oh goodness. Well, it seems like, so we have a lot of with the GSM and not wanting to. So you were thinking about changing the tone of your, not tone, but like kind of a new mission, like a new brand, a new take on your channel, which is more of a joyously entering the GSM sort of, like wouldn't that be a great YouTube channel, like the grand joyous minimum or something like that?
Well, it's just, yeah, I want to speak about things in a philosophical way. It's how I operate, really. It's how I think. And, I mean, I read all the time. I'm kind of nutty over Steiner, and I love Rupert Sheldrake, and I just anybody that's really pushing the envelope, and so Joseph Campbell, and really talk about life in within the context of what is going on right here, right now. And, GSM is one. Another one is financial, which you and I spent a long time yesterday dealing with, looking at things like, cryptocurrency and that, and just doing all of these things in a very even, or thinking about them in a really even way, seeing, playing them out, discussing them with people that are my subscribers. I have such smart people subscribe to my channel, and just really sharing information. I've got this one guy that's sharing a great place to live. I don't want to share that just now. I want to do some more investigating. I want to ask him if it's okay if I do that, but he broke it all down and why it's a great place to live. Just talking about things in, maybe people aren't going to move. Let's talk about that. Let's be philosophical about that. Okay. Well, we're all meant to be somewhere. Some people are meant to be in northern Maine, and they'll survive. Maybe not everybody, but many will. So, let's talk about that. Do we feel compelled to move, or do we feel like we really need to stay right where we are? So, I mean, it's just not tapping into the fear, the reality of it. Yes, but not the fear, so yeah,
the reality.
That's where I want to go with it. So, but to do that, though, I need time, because I don't want to just come on and start blabbing. I want to really think about it and write about it, and just let some of these things simmer so that I really can bring something to the table.
No, it makes sense. I mean, and that's something that we've been thinking of also. It really seems like everybody is going through a new kind of personal rebranding recently. Like, it could be Neptune is retrograde along with this and that and the stars. May have Mercury retrograde. There's a lot of things going on, but everybody's sort of rebranding and thinking about, like, that we know. It just seems like just so many people are rebranding and getting into a little bit of that sacrifice and bliss that Joseph Campbell talked about. They're sacrificing things that really bad habits, where a person could talk about the GSM and just be like, and the shelves are bare, and oh my goodness, it's just getting worse, and blah. And there's a place for that, and if that's really truly where a person is at, like, they're doing good work, and that is fine. But it seems there's a lot of people that are, sacrificing a lot of their own personal brand. Because if you think about it, if you have a social media presence at all, if you're out there, if you're putting yourself out there, you become a brand of some kind. And people are really rethinking their brand. They're going, you know what? And in general, they want to be more, I guess, just call it positive. They're like, everything that I'm putting out, which is negative, I could sacrifice that for something much, much more positive, much, much greater.
And still deliver information.
And still deliver the information, yeah. So I find that everybody's getting into that positive vibe of brand and just going, man, I need to...
Not everybody, but...
I shouldn't say everybody, but many, yeah.
And there's a lot, many, yeah. I mean, I actually stopped listening to the weather channels, and I really like a lot of those people. I really do. But it was, if all you do is pay attention to one thing, that's all you see. And that's how, I think that's what happens to a lot of people that have YouTube channels that are focused on one thing, like that's their niche. I get it. But you have to be careful. If that's all you're looking at, that's all you're going to see. That will be the reality. There may be a lot more to it, but if all you're doing is like going after this one thing, this one truth, you're going to miss the whole picture, right? So you just have to be careful. you know? And so for me, I just like, how much can I listen to, you know, and because there were like 5 different channels that I kind of like. And I just I found myself, I couldn't listen to anybody anymore. It didn't matter to me anymore because I just have to look out my window and I just have to pay attention to nature. And I'll tell you, you know, there's no mosquitoes. I know something's wrong. You know, there's not very many flies. You know, I can tell you that I haven't seen any hummingbirds. I've seen lots of butterflies. So, I mean, you know, I look at the sky, you know, it's the weather, you know, how does it feel? It feels heavy. You know, that's that cosmic ray flux. It feels like there's a lower ceiling almost, you know. So it's like, you know, I really have to just step out my own door and look at what's going on locally to have a pretty good grasp of what's happening. Now, yes, I want to know if there's earthquakes around the world and what have you, but that's an easy 10-minute drop in, see what's happening, and then get back to what's really going on in my own sphere. And so that's why, because then I get all caught up in things that I can do nothing about. And, you know, except maybe say a prayer, but I do that anyway. You know, I can't do anything about it. I can't change it. I can't, you know, I'm just aware of it, you know.
Yeah, there's that book, Cosmic Rays and Evolutionary Leaps, I think it is. I forget who wrote it. Yeah, I can't remember the author. I think that's the title, Cosmic Rays and Evolutionary Leaps. And, you know, the increased cosmic rays from the grand solar minimum, I mean, I think that's something a lot of people are feeling and working with, because you go, wow, you know, I'm getting hit with more cosmic rays, which, you know, I'm sure sounds just new agey and ridiculous to many people. Probably nobody listening to this, but, you know, like to many people that would sound like, oh my God, okay, yeah, that just sounds nuts. But we are getting hit with a lot more cosmic rays, and that has caused, was his hypothesis, and he did a lot of empirical research for it, that's how evolution happens. You know, like
it is, and I knew it. I don't mean to cut you off.
No, good. Yeah.
I knew it when I really knew that there was a solar minimum. I told my husband, I said, I'm telling you, this is going to change our DNA. This is part of our evolution. You know, it was just one of those knowing things, you know, and I really am. I think I hate to say psychic, let's just say highly intuitive, but I knew it. And I think it was Oppenheimer, but he had, someone had brought to his attention that the CIA had done a study in the early 60s. I have it. It's a huge document. It's like 800 pages long. There's a lot of just filler in it that's crazy. And the study was that solar minimums increase psychic phenomena. And so, you know, it's something that's actually been studied. So, yeah, I mean, you know, there's a reason for everything. You know, it is time for us to, you know, move through an evolution. We've done it many times on this planet, way more than we're being told or suspect. And this is just another one.
Oh,
you know, mankind's still here.
Oh yeah, it's just another one. And then that's where a person can start looking at it where it's fun, you know, because people can start going, oh, wait a second. I mean, I have superpowers. Like, yes. If you want to start focusing on that, your intuition is great, is better, because ultimately, you know, like in that book, the Adam and Eve story, you know, which is cheery, you know, great nightmare reading, but basically, like it says, Eve knew, like our intuition knows. And so your intuition is turning on, you know things. If you get into that, you can start having fun. Like if there's somewhere else you should be living than where you are, you'll migrate there. You'll find yourself there somehow or the other.
Yes, you will. Yeah,
and you also get
you know, trust what you're told.
And you also get the ability to, I think, manifest faster, you know, where you focus your intent, you can create faster. So really, it's almost like for many people, at least, well, myself, I can say that it starts to be kind of a spiritual fun playground. You go, wait a second, like reality is changing, and you can feel the uniqueness of the cosmic rays. And I remember it was like when did it start? A couple of years ago, I noticed, I'm like, people are really getting crazy. So much polarization, so much insanity. People who were sane are now not, and now, I kind of begin to understand. I go, okay, what it is that when the cosmic rays increase, you're going to go, one of two directions, either an evolutionary leap, or you're going to go back to, I don't know, like a reptilian primal brain mind. It's an extreme push.
I think people go, yeah. I think that'll have a lot to do with people's health. If they can take on, so that's why it's really important to be really aware. Like, for me, I take, Bob Greska C60, I take iodine, I take magnesium, and excuse me, what else? Oh, and I take Colonest, which is, drains the lymph. So that's really good to just dump any kind of toxicity. So, and I can't even get a sunburn. That's, the C60, I can't even get a sunburn. So, I feel very, almost like I have a shield. Plus I wear Jeff's crystals that he implants with homeopathic remedies. I wear that too. And I can tell when I don't have them on and how it feels outside. So, but that is just so that there's an ease of, it helps me just to move through a really harsh climate. And if you're sickly, or, you're eating a real crap diet and a real low, a diet that's really low energetically, which lots of sugar, or fast food, anything like that, you won't make it. You won't make it. So it's really about just, you don't have to be rich, eat freaking kale every day. Just eat something that's good for you. And I grew 5 different kinds of kale. I'm going to have to eat kale until like my brains fall out. But it's really healthy. It's really sustainable, and it keeps a healthy diet. Even in maybe where there's not, where food might find maybe difficult to grow.
No, I understand for sure. Yeah, definitely. I think it's certainly not medical advice for anybody, but I would say, when it comes to diet, don't forget your intuition, don't forget your body, don't forget your location, and what works for you. Some people would say, only, beef jerky is good, everything else is poison. Some would say, well, only a raw kale smoothie is good for you, everything is poison. Some would say, well, sweet potatoes, they're good. Some people would say, no, they're poison, they're just sugar. You can't friggin' win, honest to God. There is nothing I could possibly eat that somebody will not say is a superfood, and another person will say is literally poison. You're going to die. You know what I mean? It's just so, I think part of the extreme cosmic rays coming in do have to do with food, and maybe I think an intuition I'm feeling is us figuring out how to eat again, because we have we have documentaries on, hey, do you know what, being in nature is good for you, it's called earthing, oh wow, like did that shit just happen, so so I think we're also figuring out how to eat again. How do humans eat? And I think that's something that we're figuring out now. Again, intuitively. So, let those cosmic rays spark that intuition and see what you were led to, Yeah. And, of course, if you're being led to sugar, no, you're being led in the wrong direction. If you're being led to, McDonald's, wrong. So have some common sense. A Pringles can, wrong. Certain things, not correct. But especially if it is some kind of a whole food, it is probably good. Grapes, okay. Beef jerky, all right. Baked potatoes, good. Kale, good. People do have to think and be honest with themselves, So you've been a crypto expert now for going on like 2 or 3 days. So how has that transition been? Like you're new to it, but as we wrap up, it's like, I believe that crypto is really a peaceful revolution, and that's quite a lofty statement. It might be the first ever peaceful revolution when it comes down to it, and it might take a while, and there's going to be a lot of government ins and outs because they would love to get rid of it as much as they may say that they embrace it. It is a weird time. I don't even fully understand it, but I do know intuitively it is a peaceful revolution, and it's part of a GSM. It's part of, human evolution. I mean, it's going to be here in the future. And I think a lot of fiat currencies are not, or they'll be much less used, And so how does it feel to be newly, intuitively inspired to get in to crypto?
Well, it's pretty interesting that, my husband and I looked at it about a year ago, and there was just too many questions were unanswered, and we just didn't feel real need to. But a couple of days ago, 2-3 days ago, I started to really get this, and this is my intuitive thing going on. My stomach actually started to churn, and I got nervous, and that's why I always know that's a psychic thing, and I get really nervous and like this, and I thought, oh my God, something's going to happen to the banking. It's going to happen soon. I think we need to look at crypto. It's one of those, and it's not that I'm worried. It's that it's all this information is bubbling up, and I don't know what to do with it, right? So anyways, my poor husband, he's the victim of that, because then I start spewing, and like, we've got to go cryptocurrency. And it's like, it comes out of nowhere, and he's going, what are you talking about? And like, I go, no, I'm telling you, we have to do it right now. And, but that's how I moved from Seattle. That's how I moved from Detroit. That's how I, retired from the music business. And every time it was perfect. And I get in these things like, we got to go. Like when I lived on Harson's Island, not Harson's Island, it's like totally flooded. Right. So, I mean, it's just like, I get these feelings, and I just can't stop talking until it happens. So that's what I was doing with crypto maybe 4 days ago. Well, of course, I get this subscriber, and he's telling me about crypto, and he's breaking the whole thing down. And then I reached out to you. I knew you were into it, and you were so helpful. And Craig in Florida, I call him Florida Craig. He was so helpful. And then I found that Samantha, right? I mean, he told me about Samantha. I started watching her. She made a believer out of me. And so I just went, okay, we got to do this, right? And so I just put all the information together, and then sat with you on the phone, and then talked to Craig for about an hour. And Joe got us. He actually had an account on Bittrex, so he had an account there. So he just went there. We've done some money in there, and we bought some cryptocurrency this morning, and it doubled in value in a couple of hours. So that was pretty interesting. But we know it goes up and down. So so we're choosing to do that. We're looking at gold and silver. I think we're going to back off of that. I think we're just going to stay with cryptocurrency, and there's a reason why. I don't think that gold and silver are, unless you're walking around with gold bars in your pocket, it's just that it's not very applicable, and I know a lot of people are going to have input about that, but this fella in Europe who I just started dialogue with him. I've known him off and on for 2 years. He's been doing crypto since the beginning, and he's done very well. And he said that every time that cryptocurrency has always returned, he's always gotten more in return than he ever would with precious metals. And he watches both. So we went with it. So that was just my gut. I know a lot of governments are getting really friendly to it, and, creating tax breaks for people with crypto. I know Thailand is one of those places. A lot of crypto people are moving to Thailand. A lot of businesses are in Thailand, and Malta is another one. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. I believe that we're not being told that people are moving over to crypto. I think Goldman Sachs has moved over to cryptocurrency. So you can actually get your mortgage through them, through cryptocurrency. I mean, so there's a lot going on that we're being told, well, banks and everything aren't going to embrace it. I think they know they have to. And there was just some breaking news today, which went right along with my feelings. I don't know if you saw the IMF, the director of the IMF. I can't remember that woman's name. She's leaving. She's leaving. Something's going on there. And also there was, who is it? It was a big company. Oh gosh, I wish I could tell you who it was, who is breaking with, is it the Deutsche, how do you say it, Deutsche Bank?
Oh, Deutsche Bank or something like that, yeah.
That bank is hanging on for its dear life. So once that goes, and according to Samantha, it'll be down by the end of October. I think she's right, because all the signs are that things are just starting to fall away. They have to. I mean, it's over, We're operating at, who knows what now, $21 trillion in debt. There has to be a financial reset. There has to be. So, I don't think your retirement fund and your 401ks are going to be around. That's what I see.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing about
those will be gone.
Yeah, and this thing with crypto is people can, they become their own bank. I mean, your money is yours. Now, of course, when it's on an exchange, it's sort of in a bank, but it's not the same. And then as a person becomes more advanced, they'll pull it locally to a hardware device, and your crypto ultimately is on the blockchain, but you have your private key on a hardware device, and so it's a little daunting at first, but as a person gets more comfortable, they'll pull some of their crypto to a hardware device. I usually keep mine in several different places because I'm just kind of nuts like that. I'm like, I want it here and here and here and there. I don't want it all in one place. But yeah, I think that one thing that we might see, I think we'll see a fiat financial reset.
Yeah, that's what
and I think, but then we'll see international trade happen in crypto. Because, right now, like one crypto Ethereum, and there's other ones. I mean, see, right now we have, I wouldn't say too many cryptos, but there's a lot. And really, I'd say 95% of them are just total bullshit money grabs. Yeah. People saw an opportunity to get funding and make a company, and they'll die soon. And that's really, really great. I'm sure in the next 5 to 10 years, we'll have 10 or 20 cryptos, and maybe even half those don't even exist today. So it's really a crazy market, but the top 10 are probably always going to be there.
That's what I've been getting, is the top 10, top 20.
Top 10, top 20. It's all about the ones that actually have real use cases. I mean, Bitcoin is our crypto gold ultimately, and Ethereum and is a great one. See, so a lot of international contracts are being made with Ethereum. So you've got a smart contract which is written on the blockchain where money can only move when certain things are completed. That allows, and it's already happening. I mean, people are writing the smart contract in I forget the name of the language, but they're writing it, and it's on the Ethereum blockchain. And each step has to be agreed on by all players for money to move. And so now, if you ship a cargo ship full of stuff and it ends up over there, well, until they pay for it, they can't have it. It's really, it actually works better than fiat, and that's kind of what I see happening. Like I already mentioned, is that we're gonna have a fiat reset, and then we're gonna have a crypto, quick evolution. Talk about an evolutionary leap. The cosmic rays are gonna hit crypto. It's an evolutionary leap, and I always think banks have mixed emotions with it, but like you're saying, they have to adopt it. And I think that, bankers don't have borders, allegiances, hearts. They're mostly psychopaths. So, I mean, for the most part, they want money, and they want to be alive, and they want wealth, and they want to continue eating babies. So basically, if crypto is what's going to exist and not fiat, then they're going to be in crypto. They'll just start playing nice with it. So it's not that I think you're right. They have to, But the nice thing is that it does disempower the banks quite a lot, because we don't need the intermediary. We don't need the SWIFT system. We don't need a lot of things. A check requires a bank ultimately, if you think about it. But certain things like trading silver coins doesn't need a bank, but that's very primal, but trading crypto, you don't need it. It's just between two parties, and and that trade can actually be built into a contract that everyone agrees upon in some cases, so that everyone has to agree this step took place, okay, money can move. This took place, okay, now money can move. So it's nice that, I think the banks are trying to wiggle their way in where they're going to make transactions easier, but they're never going to be able to actually own the transactions. Oh, it's tough. Tough to be a reptile right now.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, yeah. And, I really like, don't do that. Listen, we don't have a lot of money. We're talking like we're doing $50 here, $100 here. We're doing it every week. So it's just this constant, consistency. And we don't have a retirement fund. We've never, how I didn't work at Ford or GM or anything, so we don't have that. And, we have Social Security, so we have that. But I'm not cashing in my 401ks. I've never believed in them. And people have lost them twice now. I don't know how many more times they want to try 401ks, but if I had 401ks now, I would get rid of it and turn it into crypto. Personally, that's what I would do. After the kind of feeling that I've had over the last week and, what I think is going on, I wouldn't hang on to the 401ks. And actually, the Craig in Florida, he cashed in half his retirement fund. And got crypto. And he missed the first time there was the big thing for Bitcoin, and went up to like 20,000 and it came back down. But when it came back down to like 3,200, he said, that's it, I'm in. And he went in. He's made a lot of money. So, it's just, I think that's really smart. But I think, when there's a financial reset, I don't know whose retirement funds and 401ks are going to survive that. Now I know nothing about finance. Can we just say that, like clearly say, do not ask me questions about finance. I know nothing. But it's just like, I have a sense and a feeling about it. And some of it's just common sense in my mind, maybe not in someone else's, but it's just how I'm going to move forward.
No, it makes perfect sense. Well, it's definitely, part of our evolutionary leap, I think, is a new form of, fiat that is getting rid of fiat, as they would say, and having a currency, which is, it really is quite literally, it's like trading silver and gold again. It's a real currency. And the thing with the dollar is that it's a deflationary, or inflationary. Well, anyway, it loses value. So one of the things that it really changes our relationship to money, because if you have a dollar, it's going to be worth $1 kind of forever, but you also know that there's inflation, and you also know that it's losing steam. It's losing, buying power. So while there's inflation, your dollar's also becoming worth less. So it's, and then especially if you think about things like a GSM, where food's going to get really expensive and such. The way people act right now, I think one of the reasons why people are very credit heavy and why they don't really see a value in money is that ultimately it doesn't have that much value. I think it's why I have a weird theory. That's why products keep getting cheaper. Everybody's like, wow, why is everything shit? Why is everything made so crappy? Well, it's because
I'm not for that. I'm not for
that. It's because our wealth, our money doesn't have any value. So what you're buying doesn't have any value. It can't, So I think that with crypto, I just say, Bitcoin explicitly. Last thing about Bitcoin is if you just don't touch it, it will be worth more.
That's right.
It has ups and downs, but if you look at the graph, it's going up like this.
That's right.
And it always has been.
And there's only so much of it. Once it's out, it's out. And so that's why I'm glad I'm in. And then we bought things that the alt coins, and that just looked really interesting to me. And they're really cheap right now. And we already saw, just in a day's time, we saw that shift. And I told you, I said, God, I got a feeling about these things too, So, and then Craig informed me on it, and then I just kind of sat with it. So, so once I, see how it does, I'm going to just sit with it for a couple of weeks. And then I just want to touch on this with my YouTube channel, because I think there's a lot of people just like me that kind of want to dip their toe in it, but just don't know how, and so
I agree.
I just want, I want to be really clear on the how to, so. But anyways,
No, I
I'm
think
glad that we've talked about all this. This is
Yeah, I
great.
think it's really useful to help people. I know it's something that I really want to do. Like I trade crypto for a living right now is what I do. So I have Bitcoin, of course, but I trade into altcoins as they are pumping, as they say, and then I sell. So I'm constantly, I'm kind of a mercenary. There's no altcoin which is special to me. I like the one that's making money, and then I toss it like a spent cigarette butt when it stops. But all the same, I find that I make a kind of a download or an insight I had this morning, which I've been working on. I mean, I should know this already, but sometimes it really hits you, is that one thing that will make me a lot more money is if I make other people a lot more money. And so I trade with a group of people during the day, and I have a bunch of programs I've written, these scanners that are always looking at the market, and I'm grabbing things that are about to move up a couple percent. And so I've really started aggressively sharing that with a group that I'm in, and actually two groups, and one's public, anybody can join it if they want. And with that said, like, the more I help people make money, the more I think of it not as in I'm going to make money, but it's essential to me that everybody else gets the perfect setup also, and we make money together.
Yes.
That's actually making me, already, I'm seeing, big gains from that. So
yeah, and that Samantha said that. She said that the wealth is going to be held by a very different kind of person than used to hold the wealth. And the people with that wealth are going to help people that don't have the wealth. And that there's going to be a distribution of wealth in a very different way than we've ever seen before. Because it's people like us, hopefully like us, that make money. And I've always known if I ever walked into a pile of money, I would share it. I've always known that. I've just never walked into a pile of money, But I mean, I always knew that if I did, I would share it. And I think that there's a whole bunch of people just like me out there that would, especially if they saw people were suffering or, trying to get by, we would definitely do that, or help them set up or whatever. But I found that really encouraging, So, yeah, I hope it's true, because I would love to make money to share it. I don't need a lot of money to live. I never have. I live in a little house. I love it. I love my life simple. And I would love to share money with people that need it.
Yeah, making money starts to be, rather than an aspect of ruthlessness and hoping that you win and that there's not enough and you have to get yours, etc. Now with crypto, at least in what I'm doing, it's like we're going hunting and gathering together. We're going out and we're all winning together, and we're kind of sharing in a way. And then it's like Stuart Wilde, a great philosopher, said. He says, there's all this money right now wirelessly flying through the air, actually passing through your body right now. There's all this money, and all you have to do once you get it, once you understand the spiritual nature, like the spiritual metaphysics of our existence, he goes, all you have to do is just reach out, and all that money that's moving, and just grab a handful.
I love that.
And that's really how crypto works. Maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but that's how I'm working on it, working for myself and others, truly. Yeah. Well, it's been great talking. I mean, this is great, and I'll get this posted, and I'll share it over to you so you can post it on your channel, and
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is everything about me is at radiantcreators.com. That's it. Go there, look, you'll find everything. And then for Kate, where can people find you?
Yeah, just say Kate Hart, Radical Gardner. It'll take you there. As most people know, YouTube, the Nazis took down my YouTube channel. You might want to take that word out, or they'll demonetize you. But anyways, they took my channel down and 250 videos, whatever. But I went right back up the same day. And so if you put in Kate Hart, Radical Gardner, you'll find me.
Sounds great. Okay, and I will, of course, link to your YouTube and the show notes. All right. Well, take care, and we'll do this again soon.
Okay, honey, bye. Say hi.
Thanks for listening to Radiant Creators. Check out more content at radiantcreators.com. If you like the show, give it a like. Share this. comment, keep the conversation going. You can also find us at alternatecurrentradio.com, where there's this show and a lot more.